Since we have a few reporters here. So, look guys, what we want to do here was a couple things. First of all, we want to come and say thank you to the National Guards folks, to the cops, for actually keeping this place safe. If you look at what's happened in Washington, D.C. in just the past 9 days, we've seen a 35% reduction in violent crime. We've seen over a 50% reduction in robberies. We are seeing really substantial effects because these guys are busting their ass. So I wanted to come here, highlight what they're doing, say thank you in person, obviously pass out a few burgers, but most of all, just send a message to the American people. Look, we don't have to live like this. We do not have to allow our cities to be taken over by violence and by disorder and by chaos. You can actually do stuff. You can actually bring law and order to communities. You've just got to have the political willpower to do it. And I think you hear these guys outside here screaming at us. Of course, these are a bunch of crazy protesters. But I'll tell you, a couple of years ago when I brought my kids here, they were being screamed at by violent vagrants, and it was scaring the hell out of my kids.
In less than 2 weeks, the situation began to turn around. With law enforcement and the National Guard stationed there, the environment changed almost overnight. Their visibility alone was enough to deter much of the chaos that had taken root, and their direct actions pushed back against disorder. Suddenly, parents felt like they could bring their children again. Families could stand together, look at the historic monument, admire the grand design of Union Station, and not feel constantly on edge. Restaurants and small businesses nearby started to see life return as people once again felt confident about gathering with friends or loved ones. The sense of safety didn't just change how people felt in the moment, it reopened possibilities for the future. It's important to see how powerful that shift is. When families feel unsafe, they retreat indoors, they stop engaging with their cities, and communities begin to fracture. But when safety is restored, people come back. They fill the spaces with laughter, conversation, and life. A public place is only as strong as the community that uses it, and without safety, those places wither. The intervention of the police and guard reversed that decline and gave people back one of their city's most iconic spaces. The symbolism of Union Station being restored to safety matters just as much as the practical benefits. Union Station isn't just any building. It's a gateway, a hub of history and movement, something that should represent connection and pride for Washington, D.C. To let it be consumed by violence and chaos was to surrender part of the city's soul.
And one of the things that we've done already in Union Station in just 9 days is we've made it a place where people can walk around safely. They can bring their kids again. They can see this beautiful monument, the architecture. They can have a meal with their friends and their loved ones because, again, we brought some law and order back to Washington, D.C. So I want to thank Pete Hegseth and Stephen Miller. I want to thank all the people, the guardsmen here and the police officers who have worked very hard. And I know that we've traded now some violent, crazy people who are screaming at kids with a few crazy liberals who are screaming at the vice president, but I think that's a very worthwhile trade to make because we want our people to be able to enjoy our beautiful cities. And the last thing I'll say is to the American people, D.C. is already safer than it was 9 days ago, but we're going to make it safer still to come. This is your city. You should feel free to come and visit here, have a meal, see all these incredible monuments, and actually enjoy yourself, and that's what we're trying to make happen. And I think that if we set a standard in Washington, D.C., that political willpower can bring some common sense, law and order back to these communities, then maybe some other communities and other cities will follow suit. So it's kind of crazy. You hear these guys outside, they appear to hate the idea that Americans can enjoy their communities. They do the fact that D.C. a week ago had a higher murder rate than Trinidad and Tobago, which the United States State Department has said you shouldn't visit because it's unsafe.
It shows that results can come faster than expected when leaders stop making excuses and start taking action. Political will is the key ingredient. It's about prioritizing safety above all else, even in the face of criticism. The fact that D.C., one of the most politically complicated and visible cities in the country, has already experienced such progress makes the lesson even more powerful. If it can happen there, under the watchful eye of the nation, then it can happen anywhere. The strategy is not mysterious. It's about standing firm, enforcing order, and refusing to let public spaces be surrendered to chaos. What matters is the courage to act despite pushback, because there will always be opposition from those who dislike authority or resist change. But the people who live in these cities deserve leaders who put their safety first. Imagine the ripple effect if other cities follow this model. A major urban center like New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles restoring its reputation as a safe place to live and visit could completely shift the national mood. It would draw families back to downtown areas, attract tourism and investment, and reignite pride in places that have been written off as too dangerous. Safety creates opportunity, and once people feel that their communities are protected, they can begin to dream bigger, invest more, and engage more fully in civic life. The model set in Washington isn't just about crime reduction. It's about revitalization, about reclaiming the promise of American cities as places of culture, innovation, and family life.
We ought to be able to enjoy great American cities. That's what we're trying to do in the Trump administration. And we want to thank all of our law enforcement and National Guardsmen for making it possible. We made a lot of progress in 9 days. We're going to make a whole lot more. I'll let Pete and Stephen Miller say something, and we'll take a few questions from the reporters. So, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President.